to be here today. I am very amazed by the stage, by the people, by your interaction too with the presenters. Oh, they asked me to send this image about what I would think is an object to do small business, right? So I sent a mobile because I am a person that travels a lot, and I'm always stuck with my mobile to do small business and to be connected with my clients, with everything around me, to be able to communicate, to interact also with family at home. So I think, well, if I have to recommend or something that really inspired me, or I think about doing a small business and on the go and be able to always be connected, will be the mobile here. So, which is my favorite thing. I maybe lose my laptop, I wouldn't care, but if I lose my mobile, I will die. So there it is. So today here, I'm going to talk about future and trends of search, right? How many of you have done SEO in the past? Who are SEOs here? Excellent. That's great. That's great. Successful SEOs? Not so many. That's a little bit harsh for me. Hey, Stockholm, is that how should? You know, the thing is that I have only understood in the last couple of days that I have been here. One word for me is clear in Swedish. It's like, ne, like no. Yeah, right. I promised before going tomorrow, I'm going to learn a little bit of a couple of additional words, I promise. My name is Aleyda Solis. I am an international SEO consultant. I worked from startups to big corporations who look to improve their presence and connect in better and more relevant ways with their audience, potential audience, and increase conversions to their organic search visibility. I talk a lot in conferences, but it's the first time that I am in Stockholm, so I'm super excited about that. I have been named last week. I'm very happy about that too. Forbes as one of the digital marketers to follow in 2015, so you can also follow me in Twitter. I promise a lot of tweets in English, so you can all understand. And I'm really looking forward to search today some of the trends that I believe are shaping from a search perspective, the future, and our reality too, what we are about to learn, right? So the thing is, and I'm pretty sure that even if you haven't done SEO, you can see here, that's the reality. We live in a world that is led by Google search. We like it or we may like it or not. We know that there are a lot of monopoly type of regulations that are being set by the EU, but the reality is that right now, we operate, and if we want to target our audience is using Google in the Western world. And last year or a year and a half ago, they published this very interesting graph of how they had evolved over time. And the reality is that we may not notice it, but nowadays, when we search, the results are not like this anymore. The 10 blue links, remember that? Text focus, purely text. We needed to be #1 to have the highest rate of visibility and click-through rate and traffic and conversions from them. That's not true anymore. The results that we get nowadays are more like this. We search from different types of devices, so the format might be different. The competitors might change on look and feel, too. We may get much more information now, right away, in this type of results, images, rich snippets, direct answers with carousels, Google Maps. They have their own verticals that they are pushing a lot nowadays. So yes, and even direct answers, as I say, Google is evolving and switching a little bit on providing direct answers. They are more like an answer engine, I say all the time. Like, instead of search engine, answer engine. They want to provide you the best possible answer for your query. What is your problem, though? This is it. You don't need to go to another site. This is what you need right there, right? So, right now, nowadays, really, we don't need to be #1 to have the highest visibility necessarily. And the day where we measure rankings as the absolute truth to know if we were going to get much more traffic have ended already. It's great to know your share of visibility on search results, don't get me wrong. But if you really want to know And if you really want to test a little bit the amount of visits that you might get from search results there, not necessarily correlate with the rankings that you have on those search results, because maybe you're on the second position, but your position has an image, or you have a rich snippets, or you are integrated directly on Google Maps. And you provide more information to users, and users tend to click more on your own result, right? So it is very important to understand that at the end of the day, it's not about that competition anymore of being always #1, but to increase your visibility, making the most out of the different Google functionalities to attract more the eyeballs of your users, to connect better with your users. You need to be more creative. You need to leverage all of these new functionalities that are provided in all of the search stages, because this is another thing. We used to think that we really need to target and focus on those money-making keywords, which are those terms that our potential audience and consumers use to look for our products when they are buying, when they are converting. And that's not a reality anymore. People interact and use different type of platforms when searching, when deciding, when buying, and it's not right away. Maybe the first way to identify a product or a service is through social media, social networks. But they are not going to buy right there, right away. They are going to maybe remember a few weeks ago after that and say, hey, it's true, I remember I needed to buy this. I'm going to search now for the brand. Branded search. So we need to understand that the direct answer that we used to get, like, okay, rank for the transactional type of queries, buy, register, reserve, plus your service or product, have ended, because at the end of the day, that limits us a lot. What we need to think is that we need to achieve our conversions that might be a little bit different from sell, education, communication, support, establish a brand in different way, leveraging all these type of properties that Google provides to us. So I want to share today 3 different ways, non-traditional ways, the typical that we had been using until now, to increase that visibility, to connect with our users at different times and stages of the sales journey that they may have with our own company, right? The first way is with multi-device search. We need to be prepared because it was long due, and finally, last year, mobile boom, it was obvious. We were saying, oh, this year is going to be the mobile year. It never happened, but last year, finally, it happened. It was very evident, and Google was prepared. Last year, it's crazy. If you go to Google Master Central blog, where they announce all their new features and updates, etc., it's full of tools, resources, guides, good practices about mobile. It's crazy. The percentage of mobile focus or multi-device focus functionalities is amazing. And this came a couple of weeks ago. They announced that on April 21st, they are going to start using mobile optimization, mobile friendliness as a factor. Allow me to say that I am always a little bit of skeptics with this type of things, but the reality is, and they never do this. They always announce and say that they have done an update afterwards. But this time, they are really pushing, and they are really informing people before. It's very weird. It's the first time. And last week, I was at SMX Munich, and I shared a stage with Zineb from Google. She's a web trend analyst in Zurich, and she shared that the impact that this update is going to have is going to be higher than Penguin and Panda. So maybe it's time to freak out a little bit. Yes, or to get prepared. Because the bad thing about this, and I understand that why Google wants to push mobile, at the end of the day, is for our own benefit, to be multi-device friendly and to be prepared to provide the best user experience all the time, no matter what device our users are getting into with our website, right? But the reality is that all this rush to optimize our website in 1 month might make us to take not necessarily the best decision, sadly. When we are rushed, we tend to do things not necessarily in the most effective way. So I would like to propose to take a little bit of steps that will focus first on analysis, and based on an analysis, we are going to implement the different actions to improve our optimization for mobile devices. And the first thing is to use the data that we already have. We all likely have Google Master Tools and Google Analytics. So it's about applying the right filters there. They are segments and filters that we can set for mobile. For search queries, to understand which are the search queries from mobile search results, which are the top landing pages that are providing us traffic right now from our website, what is the trend that we have from the different type of devices on our website. Are the keywords the same? Are the content the same? Is the content the same? They are consuming the same way. The conversion rate is the same, or is it different? Additionally, we might at some point not be ready to be able to optimize to all devices. So we need to understand which are the devices that are using most of our visitors. So we can check that with Google Analytics and identify if the behavior of those users may differ between each other. I want to understand that, because maybe when I enable my mobile website, I want to prioritize other type of content, not necessarily the same one that I have on my desktop version. This is key. Also, what I might see and have right now is only my starting point. And if I have not my website well optimized towards mobile search, it's very likely that my organic search results for mobile are not impressive at all. So it is key to go to the Google AdWords tool, the keyword one, and identify and validate the share of searches, of volume, that come from mobile devices. It again supports this type of segments. So it's very easy that nowadays when we do a keyword research, we validate and apply these filters to understand, okay, this is for this type of keywords and for this type of terms, is that my users are looking from mobile devices. This is the ones where I have more potential. These are the ones that I should prioritize because this is where the massiveness of visits are going to come from mobile. And of course, I need to validate. I can use simulators to check with those devices that I have identified before, that are the ones that are more used by my visitors, how my site is looking, and how my site is looking on the search results with these devices. Which are my competitors? Which are ranking better than me? Or worse than me, but with more visibility? Again, what we said before. Google has provided us these tools to validate our mobile friendliness, but this is just the beginning. There's this tool that you can see right here, and the one report included, integrated in Google Maps tool. This is very basic. We need to understand, on one hand, that we need to be optimizing one of the three main ways that Google recommends, whether responsive, whether dynamic serving, whether with an independent mobile website. It depends on our own characteristics and requirements. It is not true that Google treats responsive in a better way. That was one of the clarifications that CNEP shared last week. So whether we are mobile optimizing one way or another, it might be because we want to provide a unique experience, for example, and that might be harder to do with responsive, because at the end of the day, the content is the same. We rely on CSS media queries and AJAX to change a little bit the shape and organization of our content, but the content is the same. If we want to deliver the best, more optimal, personalized experience to our mobile users, we may want to use dynamic serving instead. The thing is that all of these options have pros and cons that we need to be very aware of. In the case of responsive, is the performance at the end of the day, because we have this page there that is always the same when we need to load a lot of content all the time. In the case of dynamic serving, it's because it's so tricky, and it might be very difficult to validate the correct serving per device, and we may end up doing clocking. That's risky. And for independent websites, we may have non-relevant redirects. I have seen that many times. All mobile pages redirecting to the desktop homepage when a user enters to the mobile page with a desktop device. So we need to validate, and we need to follow Google best practices. They share these best practices and issues that they find most of the times on the different type of mobile websites. So we need to make sure that we follow this, and that we are optimized in each of the situations that we may find. And beyond this, if we have already a mobile optimized site, what do we need to do? Well, remember the analysis that we did at the end. We need to prioritize those pages. I want to download all these top URLs or pages that are receiving most of the organic search traffic from mobile results, and I want to make sure that they are looked correctly by the mobile Google bot. And I can use Screaming Frog, for example, or other search crawlers like DeepCrawl, or we may want to use also the Fetch as Googlebot option in Google Webmaster Tools. But the goal is to really verify how Googlebot is accessing your site, the HTML that they are seeing, if this is the correct one, if the titles were included, the meta description, the overall content, the HTTP status, if they are not redirected towards other pages that are not relevant at all. And we should start measuring. In order to make decisions based on data, we need to measure. And unfortunately, until now, there were not many tools that supported mobile rankings or visibility reports. There are a couple right now that I can recommend, the one from SEMrush and also the one from Advanced Web Rankings, because you need to understand in a very segmented way which are your competitors out there, how you are performing out there, if you are improving or not, if those best practices and validations and prioritizations that you have already implemented from your content towards mobile, the mobile audience, is paying off or not. And at the end of the day, if you see, is developing those activities that you have done until now in your SEO process, but thinking always that you need to segment per device. And as much as the best, more granular experience that you can provide to the mobile users and the mobile bot, and the desktop user and the desktop bot, or the tablet ones, is going to be the best. Because users and people may use differently in every type of way, in every type of times, in the consumer buying process, this type of devices. We're only at the beginning of it. This is the reality. It's only getting a little bit more complex and complex over time. We need to be prepared. Our content needs to be fluid and need to be prepared to be shown correctly in every type of device. So that was the first recommendation for the first trend that we are seeing right now. The second one is mobile app search. Last year, Google launched openly their support to app indexing, only for Android, sadly. What a surprise, right? Again, we play in a Google rule type of kingdom here, but it is what it is. A couple of weeks ago, again, they directly announced that they were already taking into consideration the content that they index from apps in search results, but only for users that were signed in and had already that app installed. What does that mean? That, okay, maybe it doesn't allow you or help you to get more new users towards your app, but it improves the user experience, and it brings more traffic towards the app that sometimes, when using the mobile, provides a much better engagement and gets much better engagement from the user and provide a better experience to the user, and allows the users to convert much more directly than on the website. So this allows you to diversify a little bit and to get much more traffic towards the platforms that will allow you to achieve your goals, your business goals, much more easily. It's very easy to set it up at the end of the day. They provide this guide where they show how we need to specify deep links on our app, each one of our app content, and then to specify the relationship of that app content with the one of our pages. We need to be very careful because, again, here, it's very easy to get errors like you are referring to one app content that is not the same one that one of your pages. It's very important that the correlation is the same, that you map well this relationship. The good part is that Google already provides support and tools to verify that. In the Google Master Tools also we will be able to see the type of errors that our apps are getting from search results. It's really, really good. This is only starting, really. Here are some of the brands that started last year and this year too to push this forward. And you can see, you can identify the examples of how they are implementing, besides following the step-by-step guide that Google has set it up for it. This is really, if you have an app that is Android-based, this is pretty straightforward, and it can only improve your app visibility and traffic. It's time to do it. The third trend, semantic search. In 2012, Google launched a functionality and a layer that is known as Knowledge Graph to tackle semantic search. What did Google provide with that? Google with semantic search and knowledge graph provided direct answers. They tried to understand in a much more effective way the intent and the context of each answer to provide really the result that we were looking right there without looking for more. So you're likely familiar with this type of search results. I can imagine, for example, when I searched for Stockholm, I got this directly. All the information of Stockholm right there, photos, maps, and then at the ambiguation at the end, you see, you also were searching for suggestions for terms related to Stockholm. Again, if I search for a brand, it's the same. They have this knowledge graph box there, a brand one, informing about the latest results, who are the owners, et cetera, et cetera. It's very impressive. I mean, these are the type of results that we get with the knowledge graph. I already did a little bit of optimization towards that, and I became an entity, because at the end of the day, it's not about queries anymore, or words, but objects and entities. So I became an entity, and now if you search, for example, at Google, where did Aleyda go to school? Or what's the age of Aleyda? I didn't add that example here for obvious reasons, but it provides you the direct answer, right? It tells you, oh, this university, oh, she's 15. No, but fully. How you can leverage it, how you can use this with your own website. So the first thing is to understand how this type of system are seeing your website, right? So there are this system that is called Alchemy, the Alchemy API, and you can use it to analyze your website using NLP, natural language processing, and you can understand which are the taxonomies, which are the entities, how your content is mapped together, which are the keywords that are identified. You really want to see what a little bit more, in a much more granular way and technical way, what a semantic search engine might be seeing of your website, and improve that accordingly. It's also important to think of the context of the search queries that our users actually use to search for our sites. And there are many tools. I love this, the keyword tool IO, for example, or the keyword finder. They provide us different type of queries and suggestions that they have grabbed directly from Google Suggest. So it's great to see the context and the different alternatives that are provided and what people is really looking for, because at the end of the day, these are generated by the behavior of the users. I want to optimize not only for my main keywords, or for those long tail keywords that in the past were really important for me to rank #1, but I want to build relevance around these terms and queries and be seen as a relevant entity towards them. And that's why I'm going to improve also the understanding of Google, of me as an authority in this topic. It's important to use structured markup, to use schema. It not only provides more information about the meaning of each element that I mark up to Google, but also it allows me to get more visibility, and this is great. We can leverage schema to get rich snippets. If you have products, reviews, recipes, events, videos, apps, articles, pretty straightforward to get those extra information of our pages on the search. And like that, we are going to likely get more clicks, get more visibility, get more traffic too. We can also implement schema to get tiling search box. So when someone searches for our brand, and a search field appears down our own results, the results take the user directly to our internal search results of our website. And it's pretty straightforward. And it's, again, with structured markup. Additionally, Google provides us with ways to validate all this implementation, right? And it might seem a little bit frightening, and oh my God, I'm going to invest all this time, and I have heard that a lot. I need to invest all this time on doing this that won't help me to rank better, or to rank #1, or to go above my competitors. I want to invest this time and effort in links, or more content. Wait a minute, that's just a little bit. They provide us with all these resources, guide, best practices. It's pretty straightforward. And we have already the information. We likely have already the templates. We just need to add those specific references. From microdata to JSON, LD2, we have different alternatives to implement it. They provide us a debugger, a validator for a schema information, the implementation that we have done too. We need to not only think of these different type of elements that I have shared before, the products and services and the type of content that I provide, but also on my own organization. So it's very important that I also mark up my own organization of the site and to start optimizing it for the knowledge graph results. Remember those results at the right side? I want to be shown there with the right logo, with the right name, and with the right contact information. So Google provides us with the ways and specifications of how to specify those, again, with structured markup. Here you have. It's pretty straightforward again. It's pretty clear. And what is more tricky, though, is to create presence and optimize the presence of those databases and data sources that Google nowadays use. They were using until now Freebase. They are stopping using Freebase at the end of this month. They are switching towards Wikimedia. And this is the tricky thing. It was like with Wikipedia in the past. A lot of SEOs tried to use it to build links in a way that were not necessarily that relevant and friendly and nice, to say something. It was a little bit spammy. So be careful with this. You don't want to get your company like blocked or anything like that. But it's very, very important that you are aware of this and you provide reasons so your company really need to be listed in these websites that Google uses as data sources. And not only these direct data sources, but also you need to create consistent information about your company and organization, from social networks to business listings to, it's very, very important, and it's, of course, directly on the Google Plus for Business presence. At the end of the day, from a social network perspective, it has already stopped to exist, likely, but it's more about an identity network and their own Google business type of directory where citations and references and reviews about your business are going to exist and are going to be shown in search results from there, directly from there too. So it's a win-win situation. You can see there are 3 simple ways, not the typical ones. I haven't talked about links, haven't talked about optimize your title, optimize your meta description, improve, no. I have talked about different trends that are likely to play more and more roles in the future, where you really need to be investing. And if you haven't yet, it's time to change a little bit of that, your schedules and your budget to include this. Because at the end of the day, this is only expanding more. If you go, there's this list, a great directory of all Google patents here and publications. Of course, we don't know. We are not sure which are the ones that are going to be taken into consideration right away. But there are some trends that are very, very obvious. And semantic is one way, multi-device is another, multi-platform with apps and webs too. And it's only getting excited, or a little bit scary too, if I may say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aleyda. My guess is that this is a topic that's really, I've been following Twitter during your presentation, and I know there are a lot of comments and questions in the audience, and probably also from the editors. So let's invite them for more questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of comments on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think there are some people in the audience that are going back to work thinking, I have a lot of things to do.
Yeah. And somebody even said they would retire. They give up.
Yeah,
like, there's too much to do.
And another comment is they really liked how you connect apps and search. That's very interesting to hear about. I was wondering, what's the biggest mistake companies do in SEO at the moment, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I have to say that the latest 6 months or so, in most of the audits that I have done, the biggest mistakes is about mobile. Because a lot of companies think that just because they have a responsive web design, they are already mobile optimized, and that's not true. There is a lot around optimizing performance, optimizing, of course, for relevance. Make sure that you are providing the best user experience with responsive too, that you don't block your CSS, JavaScript, and elements, images that Google needs to crawl to understand that you have that type of configuration. That is very, very common. So to think that they are already optimized just because they have a mobile version, a mobile site, without validating, without crawling, that's the very big mistake. And sadly, I see it happening a lot, yeah.
But do you think that companies in general are improving in their SEO work?
I think that after Penguin and Panda, a lot of companies realized that SEO was really about online marketing, digital marketing, search-focused strategy, an area that needed to be taken into consideration with the same type of formality and analysis and alignment that other activities like social media or affiliate or even email marketing is taken. So they are really aligned with your principles, with goals that are business-focused, instead of thinking on rankings, and tricks, because sadly that is how a lot of people saw SEO. I remember like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, for example, I went to clients to speak, and the person who was there was not necessarily the marketing manager, but the technical director. And it's like, why? It's like, yes, there is a technical base, of course, a web base, but the goals and the alignments, like the activities, need to be set from a marketing perspective, because it's about connecting better with the user and providing the user more relevance from our own content and improving conversions at the end of the day. It's a totally business type of goal and focus in these activities.
That's a great message, because we have a lot of marketing professionals and communication professionals in this audience. I think we still have time for a couple questions in the audience. Sidona, are you ready with the microphone? Do we have any questions?
Please.
Aleyda? No?
Oh.
Nothing? Up there?
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
One winner. You know what? I give conferences in a lot of places. I haven't. It's the first time that I'm giving a conference here, and I was warned. Don't expect Swedish to ask you anything at the end of your session. And that doesn't mean that they don't like you. Don't cry after it.
Right.
Like,
Did I
you
say
make
that?
me very happy. Thank you very much. I know it's a cultural thing.
Exactly.
So, just to, ask you anything since being a Swede. So, but you mentioned from Google that they had confirmed that they don't, depending on what setup you have for mobile, it doesn't really matter. But they state very clearly that they recommend, responsive.
Yes.
But that doesn't matter for rankings. That's just their preferred way of doing it.
I love the question.
Yeah.
Yes. I love the question. Because yes, in the first guide, if you search for it right now, it's not very obvious, but in the first guide, like the one page that they used to have like last year, they published like, we have created these guides with best practices for your mobile websites. They first added their like, responsive web design is a recommended setting for mobile websites. And a lot of people thought, that because of that, they were providing a better treatment to mobile websites that were using responsive. But the reality is that let's see on one hand, of course they prefer that you use responsive because it's much more straightforward for them to crawl an index. It's only one HTML, only one content, less effort from their part. They don't need to be identifying and referring user agents to different URLs or to different content that is dynamically served under one URL. That's more tricky. That happens with the other configurations. So from their part, it's much more cost efficient. So I believe that really what they wanted to do is to push a lot of users towards those settings. At the end of the day, what they say, okay, it's our recommended option because it's the one that is much more straightforward, but we don't give an extra weight that just because you are using a mobile website with responsive, that means that you are automatically optimized or that you will rank better than these other websites that is using dynamic serving or an independent mobile website just because you have responsive. But if they are better optimized at the end of the day, they also follow best practices. If they are providing more relevant information, they are likely going to compete with you or even be ranked above you if you are not doing things right. So this is very, very important that we understand that they may recommend it. That was much more straightforward in many cases. But there are situations. If you see, for example, the website of TripAdvisor, Orbitz, or these huge travel websites that have a history on being mobile friendly because they have a lot of transactions on the go, take a look how they have the mobile website set. They are not using responsive because it's very, very tricky to provide a very personalized experience with responsive. They are using dynamic serving in most of the cases, and they provide, for example, a big map, like right above the fold, with a big button of reserved, in the case of TripAdvisor, or call, the big number there, which is totally different to the UI that they have on desktop. And makes sense, because they have identified in the analysis that the behavior of their users with mobile differ a lot, and their intention is different, and the activities that they perform are different. So they provide a much more targeted experience. So in these cases, it makes total sense to use dynamic, to use other approaches, not only because of technological restrictions that may arise, for example, when switching to responsive. Not all times is feasible to do right away, right? But it's very important to understand this. Last week, again, this question was asked to Zineb, was like, oh, so you prefer responsive? So you give more weight to responsive? No, it's not like that. They recommended it. It was much more straightforward. It's much more simplistic in more cases. But there are situations where, of course, it is not the ideal setting necessarily, and they don't give responsive an extra weight just because of being responsive, of course.
I'm just thinking, like, looking forward, maybe like Hugo, 5-10 years ahead of sort of into the future. It just feels like eventually search will become obsolete. It feels like we're moving towards something where as soon as you open the computer, you're probably not even using a computer then, but it will know what you're looking for.
You get the answers.
Exactly. You don't even have to put in a query because it just knows based on what you've done, in which context you are.
You saw my last slide, actually, at the presentation. It's shown this company that Google acquired not like a year ago, recently. It's DeepMind, and is artificial intelligence. So at the end of the day, that's the ultimate search utility, right? What is going to allow you to get the replies of what you are looking for, or recommendations for what you are looking for right away. Not necessarily even with a mobile device like this, but or a computer like this, but with wearables or whatever device or connections you have with the machine, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, indeed.
Exciting.
It is exciting, for sure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Round of applause.